Welcome, everybody, to the F4 Hunger Awareness Show.
It's my goal to feed 1 billion people before I die.
We want to bring awareness around the issue of hunger and food insecurity.
7 to 8 million people served so far. With the sole goal of eradicating world hunger by connecting sources of food to recipients in need. Fiorenza's Food for Friends.
Hi, Derek Fiorenza here on the F4 Hunger Awareness Show, and I'm excited to bring you a very special guest today. It's Leslie Whitten. Leslie works for the Chartwell Law offices in Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston's a beautiful area, Leslie. I've spent some time down there visiting through the years, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Love it here in Charleston.
This
So,
is part of an ongoing series that we're having with Chartwell, part of the Chartwell Cares Initiative, and the goal behind it is to hopefully inspire the attorneys and the staff in the various communities that Chartwell has around the country to support their local food banks and food pantries. And our hope, our goal would be that this support would extend beyond just the holiday, but be an all year round opportunity to give back. As we know, the needs are great, and it's not just the holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas time frame. People are hungry all year round, and food banks do amazing work all year round. So, thank you for being part of this important initiative and for championing it there in the Charleston area.
sure. Happy to be here. Happy to do it.
So I always like to kind of get started. I find law as a profession very fascinating. What drew you to the law? When did you realize you wanted to practice law? What was the impetus behind that decision?
Yeah, it's not a sweet story. My dad was in the Navy. My mom was a school teacher. Didn't have a lot of money. Always a lot of issues with are we going to pay the bills? Are we going to have food on the table? All those kinds of things. Two sisters, and Um, I just remember them having a lot of stress. And so when I was in the fourth grade, I decided I'm going to find a job where I know I can pay my bills. And I wasn't very imaginative. So it was either doctor or lawyer. And I didn't really like science all that much. So I decided to be a lawyer in fourth grade.
And in fourth grade. And when you were deciding that this is the path you want to go, did you have a period going through high school or college where you thought, maybe this isn't for me? Was there any of that back and forth?
Not even for a second. I love theater. My mom was a drama teacher, in addition to being an English teacher, and I did a lot of theater in college and high school and loved that. But again, it went back to I'm going to be really poor living in New York, being a waitress, and probably am not going to go anywhere, and it's just not worth it. And again, that's not a sweet story. It's the truth.
What were some of your favorite plays that you enjoyed growing up?
Gosh, what was I? I was in this ridiculously fun play, but silly, called Daddy's Dying and Who's Got the Will. That was a really fun one. Little Shop of Horrors, I really enjoyed. That was really fun. But and then I was in one in college called Nevermore. It was actually it was written by a director here in Charleston about Edgar Allan Poe and his last days. It was actually pretty fun, pretty interesting.
The Raven, right?
Yes, yep.
He had that really cool story. You know who's a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe? Sylvester Stallone.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So he actually has a tattoo.
Hmm.
And so there's a whole interesting story behind his tattoos. He got tattoos later in life because when he was training during Rocky 3, he ripped his pectoral muscle and he never liked how it healed. So if you go back and you watch Rocky Balboa, which came out in 2006, he had a lot of veins and you could tell that there was damage done to his right pectoral muscle.
Okay.
So he started putting tattoos. He put one of his wife, and then he got the Raven from Edgar Allan Poe. And he talks about his journey as a writer. And it's
Hmm.
really a fascinating story how he kind of created Rocky. But he talks a lot about like the stories of Edgar Allan Poe. And I remember the one story, I think it's Poe, where the person's trapped in the wall. And I think that was an Edgar Allan Poe story. I read some of those growing up, but.
Yeah, I do remember a short story about somebody thinking they were being part of the wallpaper or something. I don't know if that's the same thing, but yeah.
He was an intense guy. He
Yeah.
was certainly intense. Have you seen any plays on Broadway?
Yes, a couple. I've seen Rent and Hamilton, which is just the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And Fiddler on the Roof and something, a couple other things I can't remember, but yeah.
Tevia. We watched the movie when I was in eighth grade, and I that song "If I Were a Rich Man," da 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 da, and I always like I thought that was such a cool like little. There were so many good songs in that play.
So good. And
Yeah.
I love plays that have a huge cast and I always get a little emotional just because the number of people that had to be working together on that to make that happen. Like the people on stage, the choreographers, the stage manager, like all of it. It's pretty amazing that that kind of stuff gets pulled off. But
It really is. You know, you think about some of those like Wizard of Oz and now Wicked, right? I don't know if you saw that
yeah,
movie. Did you see the new
yes,
Wicked?
I did. I
You
did.
like it?
I did. I like the first one more.
Yeah.
I thought this is going to be way too much information, but I thought that they reprised some things that didn't need to be reprised. I thought the stuff they added in the first movie from the play was fantastic. I thought the stuff they added in the second movie was just kind of filler, but it was still good. I mean, very talented people.
There was some amazing songs. You know, I know this because my sister, they're both really into it. But Kristen Chenoweth and India Mazel, is that I
Hi,
think
Dana.
Idina
Love
Menzel.
her. Yeah.
And they that Defying Gravity song was so good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I consider myself a singer until I try to sing something like that. And I
Yeah.
realize I'm not that good, but
I
yeah,
love
she's
it.
killer.
Something has changed within me. And
Mm.
and it goes up and down and her voice, both their voices just ridiculous.
Yes, and just beautifully changing from head voice to chest voice, and yeah, it's
Ah,
pretty fantastic.
okay. Here's my favorite, Jersey Boys. Have you seen
Okay, I haven't seen that.
You've not seen it. Okay.
No,
Did you see the movie?
no.
Okay. Clint Eastwood directed it,
Okay.
and it tells the whole story of Frankie Valli and how he came from, you know, where he was and his upbringing, and how he, well, the whole story behind Frankie Valli is pretty remarkable. But they do a really nice job of kind of giving you different perspectives of the band members, and it really is like an overview of like life. You go through these seasons, the four seasons, seasons of life, and there's a time in the play and in the movie where Frankie Valli, one of the band members, I think the bass player, not the bass player, it was it might have been the bass player, Nick. He got in trouble with some gambling debts, and Frankie Valli met with the at that time I think it was the loan shark or the mob, and this is a true story. He said, "We'll take on all the debt," and he kicked the guy out of the band.
Hmm.
And the guy said to Frankie, "Now it's your time." And it was like the changing of the season, the changing of the guard. It's your time because it was four, and then it was Frankie.
Hmm.
Frankie became the lead. They called him the Four Seasons, but he had the horn section, and it was a whole production built around his voice.
Hmm.
And it's a really, I recommend it if you like theater and plays. I recommend you see Jersey Boys. Amazing.
Okay. Are you from New England?
No, I'm from Philadelphia.
Okay. Well, yeah, that area. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Just your interest made me think that you're probably from up
Yeah,
north a little bit. That's awesome.
I'm from the north, exactly. But
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit about Charleston. I think part of this has been really cool because I literally am getting a different view onto the different offices, different parts of the country. I've been in
Yeah.
Florida, I've been in Scranton, PA. So tell me a little bit about Charleston.
Love the guys in Scranton. Yes. Um, the office or the city?
Well, I guess let's start with the city, and then we can always kind of get to the office. Like, I know Charleston's a historic town. Why is it so special to you? You kind of grew up there. Tell me about it.
Yeah, when I first moved here, it wasn't nearly as cool. It was it, I, we Hurricane Hugo hit when I was in middle school in '89 and got a bunch of money from the federal government to kind of um, rebuild, and that just started this whole revitalization thing, and all of these chefs from New York started coming down and just realizing that the city was so great. I mean, this is nothing if you are from Europe, but I mean, we have houses that have been there, 300 years and just beautiful. There's just a lot of really cool historic areas, and the downtown is just really cool. And since 89, we've just gotten better and better with restaurants to the point where, I mean, you can't find a bad restaurant in downtown Charleston, really. And I'm such a foodie. I love all of it. It makes me very happy. So, um,
What's your favorite food down there in Charleston? So if I get down there sometime, what would you recommend? Gotta try.
yeah, gosh, there's so many. Chubby fish is a big one that I love. The only problem with it is they don't take reservations. So you have to basically get in line at 4 o'clock. So when they open the doors at 5, you can get in or get a reservation or get a time for later that night. It's so good though. They basically take whatever is caught that day and then make a menu around it. And it's always good. Um, Fig is the big one that my husband and I always go to for like anniversaries and birthdays and stuff. It's really, really good. They didn't get a Michelin star, which really upsets me. I feel like they should have. I can't remember all the restaurants that got Michelin stars. I know Wild Common, Malagon, which is fantastic. Spain is my favorite country, and Malagon is Spanish food, and we really feel like we're in Spain when we're there. It's so good.
Have you traveled around the world?
In the past 10 years or so, we have some very good friends. He is a sommelier. He's from France, and he's constantly traveling with his wine shop or to go see his parents or whatever, and they're good friends, so we go with them a lot. So yeah, in the last 10 years we've been to Italy and France and Spain, um, London. Not a lot. I want to see everything. I just want to travel the whole world, but hopefully some.
What's out of the places you've been, what has been your favorite place to eat, and what's been the best experience internationally, abroad?
Mm. So Madrid is by far my favorite city. Like if I had to move tomorrow, that would be where I would go.
Mhm.
And it's mainly because just the people are so nice and just very, very welcoming. And um, I love that like you go into this little uh, cafe or whatever, or market at like 11 in the morning and little old ladies are drinking vermouth. Just like fantastic. And then I just love that they just stay up late and everything's very chill and they're just really cool people. The best restaurant that was in Barcelona, was, called Enigma. And it's changed since COVID. We were there before, but it was 40 courses. It was crazy.
Oh my God, how could you eat 40 courses, like a bite of each?
Yeah, basically. And so we walked in and they gave us like a little glass of champagne and that was a course, but oh, so good.
Wow. Okay, I'm Italian.
Ah.
I don't know what part. I think it's Bruxelles. I'm not saying it right. I think that's where it is. I'd have to ask my dad, but I know my family's from Italy, and one of the things, like a rite of passage, two things in our family, you all learn how to make Italian sauce, and so we all do. Me and my two sisters, we all make our own sauce, a little bit different. And at Christmas Eve, we had the seven fishes, so we picked seven different fishes every year, which is an
Yeah.
awesome tradition. Is Italy as good as people say it is from a food standpoint?
I think Italian Americans do a better job.
Really?
I know it's gonna like just I feel like everything I say is gonna sound so snobby. Venice is the most beautiful city I've ever seen. Absolutely
Venice.
gorgeous.
Okay.
Um, I also think that there are a lot more tourists there than there are people who live there. So restaurants can get away with not being amazing because they're not going to have repeat customers. Absolutely beautiful though, and not bad food by any means. Well, except for this, we were sitting outside of our hotel and there was a restaurant next door that served pizza. It was worse than any frozen pizza I've ever had. It was
Oh
so
my
bad.
God.
But we got espressos and they brought us out this cookie and this seagull flies over and picks up the cookie and flies off with it.
Oh my God.
That was so fun. But Florence, I should say we had fantastic food in Florence. Um, I'm trying to think where else we've been. Milan, I've been to Milan and Turin, but honestly, it was so long ago that I don't remember. Barbaresco, it was a two Michelin star restaurant. It was fantastic. That's one of the best meals I've ever had. And it was, it's Barbaresco is this tiny town, but they have a lot of vineyards. And this restaurant is basically all windows, and you're just looking over the vineyards and just have this like very simple mushroom pasta, but it was fantastic. So yeah.
You think that maybe some of these areas, because it's more touristy, you think that's the reason, and then maybe some of these maybe obscure areas might be better. I think that has to do with like the clientele that comes through.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that like some areas are more known for some like risotto. There's a place that you should go for risotto only there. I think that I don't know that we followed those rules. So, but what is the key to a good marinara? What do you think?
Well, I definitely think having fresh garlic is important.
Hmm.
And then you have to get the right amount of onions in there. When I was younger, it's interesting because my uncle used a lot of sugar, and I used to think, oh, the way to make your sauce sweet was use a lot of sugar. As I got older, I heard, well, you can try carrot or you can try onions, and it's the right kind of onion. So now what I do, and I'm giving away some trade secrets, I get everything started. I put the olive oil with garlic and I chop up the onions and I do that first. Then I
Okay.
put paste in, and then if I have some tomatoes from the garden, um, then I would puree them and then put that in, and then I just stay on top of it. And a lot of tasting, and I'm like a perfectionist with it, so I'm never like satisfied, but I don't measure anything, so
That's a cook. I absolutely measure everything and follow directions to the T. I'm not a cook, but I like cooking. But
My favorite food, if I had to say like Leslie, my favorite food, chicken parmesan.
ooh,
100%.
yeah. Yeah.
Just knock me out. And I would be like in heaven. Chicken parmesan, it's just my favorite. Um,
Yeah.
but I feel like the fish, and it's cool you mentioned that in South Carolina. I feel like what I've heard, like the fish off the coast and in Spain is supposed to be really good.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, the anchovies are absolutely delicious. And we did a food tour in Madrid, and we're all Americans, and they brought out a plate of anchovies, and they still had the heads on, and nobody else would eat them, and we're like, fine, we'll eat all of them, no problem. It
They
was
were
so
great.
good. They were so good.
Uh,
So,
well, tell me a little bit about the work you do at Chartwell, and I'll pull up your profile for those that are following us on YouTube. But tell us a little bit about the work you do and what your office in the community there in Charleston, what you guys are doing.
sure. So I practice workers' compensation defense only. I know that my bio says that I do cybersecurity. I kind of stopped doing that. It just was a little too much to stay on top of for the amount of work that I was getting, to be honest. But so, workers' comp defense, brought my paralegal, Amanda, with me. She's been with me for a long time. I was very, very lucky and grateful that she came along. Then we hired Rachel. She is very young, right out of law school, a couple years ago. She's doing great. She's definitely a go-getter. Jamie he lives near Charlotte, and he practices both in South and North Carolina. He does GL in South Carolina, and Lindsay, who lives in Charleston, but she's his associate, and she is absolutely lovely. She and her husband are super fun. They're definitely foodies, so want to hang out with them as much as possible.
GL, general liability, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that are listening, and I've shared this a couple times because we have a lot of different people listen to the podcast. When someone is doing defense, workers' compensation defense for companies, what does that mean? Give us an example of what that means.
Sure. So usually it is an employer who, of course, they have to have workers' compensation insurance. So if somebody gets hurt at work, they have certain rights to get medical benefits, wage loss benefits, or some kind of permanent disability benefits if they're still hurt at the end of it. Um, so I would represent the employer and the workers' compensation insurance carrier. One of my biggest clients is a school district, and they're actually self-insured. So if a teacher gets hurt, or somebody in food service gets hurt, and it gets to the point where they either hire a lawyer or they request a hearing, just something where they have to get a lawyer involved, and they hire me. And then, it's just about dealing with medical issues as they come up, or trying to get the case settled, that kind of thing.
So on average, I'm just sharing some of the screens, your values as a firm. On average, when you enter into an agreement with a client,
Mhm.
depending upon the case, is there a lot of prep work that goes into it? How do most of these cases get settled? Do they go to trial? Like what's it look like?
Yeah, so I would say on average, I have 80 cases at a time,
80,
and
80?
that's yeah, and that's pretty standard. So no, there's not a ton of time that goes into it unless it's a particularly crazy case, which can happen. Vast majority of them settle, and in fact, most cases settle before they even get to me. It'll just settle with the insurance carrier. But I would say I try 3 or 4 cases a year. It's just really not that common. Um, Thankfully, most of the attorneys, in my experience, who do workers' compensation are really good people, and they're trying to just do the right thing. And so everybody kind of knows what the case is worth and gets it resolved without having to do much litigation.
Did you think that you would wind up practicing workers' compensation law?
There is never going to be one person who says yes to that question. No. I went into law school thinking that I would probably be like a prosecutor, like a criminal prosecutor or something.
Yep.
Um, and that's just mainly TV. But
Like Law and
when
Order
I
type of stuff.
Right, right. That seemed fun. I mean, and they get to try a lot of cases, but which is true. But I clerked for a judge for a year, and I kind of got a little bit disillusioned just because it wasn't really what I thought.
Yeah.
So, um, and then I just had a friend who was working at this law firm, and he said, "Hey, we have an opening in workers' comp," and I said, "I don't know what that is, but okay."
Like
So,
I'll try it.
right, exactly, and I love it. It's fantastic. So.
So you were at a prior firm before Chartwell,
It was. Yep.
and you were there for a long time, almost 20 years.
I was, yeah. Very, very good, very reputable firm in Charleston. And then got a call from Chartwell, and they wanted me to start and head up their South Carolina office. And I had a wonderful mentor at Young Clement. His name was Buster Holland, and or still is Buster Holland. But he had retired, and I loved the idea of starting my own office and like mentoring people the way he mentored me. So thought it was
So
great.
did you start the Charleston office for Chartwell?
I did. Yeah.
Wow. So tell me what that's like. I mean, I have no idea where to even start. How does that even start that process?
Right. So, I mean, basically, I agreed to come. I had to call all my clients and ask them if they were going to come with me, which thankfully they did. Thankfully, my paralegal came too. And then it's just, I mean, right now it's 4 years later, we're still working from home, which we kind of all love because we don't have to deal with traffic. But, um, and then, I mean, I've traveled a lot to meet the firm's clients and other attorneys in the firm. And by the way, I am not exaggerating at all when I say like every attorney that I've met is fantastic. Like they're just really genuinely nice, down to earth people in this firm. It's so great. But anyway, so yeah, it's a lot of just kind of getting to know the firm's culture, and then yeah, and talking to a lot of partners about how they get work and that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's the same job that I had before. It's just now I'm home and have a different law firm over me.
One word to describe Chartwell's culture, what would it be?
Welcoming.
That's a great word. And you feel like the attorneys that have joined the team or they're part of the team, they're all bought into this welcoming mission, this vision.
100%. Yeah.
How do they
They
get the people like that? How do they even find people like that today?
It's such a good question. I know that because they're constantly hiring people, but they're so good at it. And I mean, I'm not part of it, but the
Yeah.
people who do that are so good at it. And I know, for instance, that they've talked to many different lawyers in California because they would love to add an office out there, but they just haven't found the right fit yet. But they're determined that anyone that they hire buys into the culture and buys into, and I mean, unlike most places that I've been, like, I mean, not just me, but everybody that I've talked to,
Yeah.
um, there's no competition between offices or attorneys. Everybody just really wants everyone to succeed, and there's no um, uh, like these people are better than these people or anything like that. I mean, everyone recognizes that the secretary, the file clerk, is doing a super important job and is a human being that deserves to be treated like a human being, and that's just not something that happens in a lot of firms. So it's pretty darn cool.
Why do you think that is, though, Leslie? Why do you think that it's so different at other places?
Um, I think a lot of people who become lawyers have grown up with a lot of privilege, and I didn't, which has helped me, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy when, and I don't blame them because this is just the life that they had, but I think it's very easy when all you've ever had is success and money, um, to just kind of take that for granted and then just consider anybody who is working for you to, just be somebody who's just there for your service only and not to think about them any deeper than that because you don't have to. Um, but I don't know. I mean, like I read Simon Sinek's book, Leaders Eat Last is so good. But he was talking about how, cultures where people are poor and they really like need other people to survive, like those cultures are much more giving and kind. And it's because they have to be. It's not because they're better people. It's just because they know that if somebody needs something and I have it, I'm going to give it to them because I might need something later. And I don't think we have a lot of that in the States. I just feel like it's a lot of haves and have-nots, and it makes it a little bit harder, I think.
So with your background, growing up,
Hmm.
weren't always easy. You said your dad was in the Navy and things were tight financially, and you said you have a sister, right? You have a sister,
Hmm.
two sisters.
Hmm.
Um, when did you recognize or realize that because you were not necessarily privileged, like you said, but there are
Right.
other people around you suffering. When did you realize that? At what age? And then when did you decide that you wanted to help others that might be suffering?
It- I mean, just trying not to say something that's not true. I'm just trying to remember it. Like, so I know, I mean, it was just kind of always part of, like, I grew up in church. I don't go to church anymore. That's another story. But a lot of churches just were naturally involved in that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, when I married my husband, he was already very involved in other organizations where, we would like stay overnight at a place where people came in to spend the night and give them food and that kind of thing. So he was a big influence. Honestly, I think the realizing that other people were really suffering thing came when I started practicing law and I started taking all these depositions. And I used to always have this stupid idea in my head that, I grew up poor and if I can do this, then anybody can do this. And then I started taking depositions and people would say they dropped out of school in 10th grade. And I would say, why? And they would say, because I had to, because my family needed me to work. And it just really opened my eyes to poverty is not a choice. It's it's not. And I mean, I know like 92% of people on Medicaid who can work do work. And just the whole idea that uh, people aren't working because they're lazy is pretty darn silly. So anyway, just I really kind of started seeing it when just in the job, really.
Sounds like you I guess found your like compassion muscles. You flexed your compassion muscles.
Right.
It forced you to see maybe through a different lens. The law,
Yeah.
field of law, maybe made you look at things a little bit differently. Change your
Mhm.
perspective. That's probably the
Yeah.
best way of saying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you grateful for that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just one of those like, what is it? What is the verse? He who increases knowledge increases sorrow, or wisdom increases sorrow. I mean, it's really hard when you look at how much suffering there is and knowing you're just one person and you can't really do that much. Like with that shelter that we'd stayed at, it would always make me so sad because how much can you really do giving a person a bed for one night and dinner and breakfast one night and one morning? So yes and no, I guess is the answer to that.
I'll share two things with you, Leslie. One is you might not change the world, but you can change the world for one person. So that one bed, one night can change that person's world. You're not
Mm,
sleeping on the streets with rats or mice or whatever else is out there. And then the second thing, when I started doing this work, and it was in 2007 when I got started, um, really started taking off in 2010, 2011. It's a volunteer avocation for me. I do it because I'm passionate about helping people because I don't like to see people suffer. But I was being interviewed and someone asked me, did it meet your expectations? And I paused to think about that because that's an interesting question. Someone asks you, did giving back or serving meet your expectations? Like, there's so many ways you can think of that. Is it arrogant to have expectations? So I answered truthfully. I answered from my heart, and I didn't do it for validation or recognition. I did it because there was a problem and I wanted to be part of the solution. So I said, and I stand by it, I didn't have any expectations. And at the time, the reason I said that is because I didn't want to be disappointed. I reflect on that now, and this is 15 years later, 18 years later, and I think about it, and we can't put our happiness, and this is me saying it now at 38, we can't put our happiness in the reactions or responses of others. We have to look at things through a moral lens of, are we doing everything with the proper heart posture? Is our intentions, um, and only we know this, is our intentions truly to serve and support, or is it to promote oneself, our ego, our pride? And I think dying to oneself, surrendering to what we can't control, and being humble enough to recognize that, like, none of us can solve this problem, but all of us can help.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember this very old man in a church I was going to. Somebody was complaining because people were coming. It was in a poor neighborhood, and people were coming up and asking for money all the time, and they always had these elaborate stories. And I just remember, I really thought he was going to say something else, but he said, it doesn't matter. Like what they do with that money is not your responsibility. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a really good point.
it is a good point. It is. It's a There's a story in the Bible where it talks about at the end of the day. So they've been working in the field all day. You probably know the story. And at the end of the day, the guy comes in and he's like, for the last 15 minutes, like, I'm exaggerating, but whatever. It's like the end of the day. And he worked a very small shift, but he
Yeah,
gets paid the same amount.
yeah,
And the people that worked all day thought it wasn't just. And at the end of the day, the person that was making the payments has the right to pay whoever he wants to pay.
yeah,
But I think what I take from that, because I used to get frustrated with that passage, but what I take from that is what you're doing, like, focus on what you're doing. It doesn't take away, improve, or decrease what somebody else is doing. We spend so much time worrying about other people and just focus on yourself. And I think that sometimes we get lost in it, and that's where you start pointing fingers like, well, you should get out of that position. But you don't know who's got mental health issues. You don't know who's got physical health, who's taking care of their sick grandchildren, or their parents died and they were taking care of them. Like, there's so many things. You lose a job, you get disabled. There's so many things that are outside of one's control that it's
absolutely.
just hard to be. You can't go around saying where someone should or shouldn't be. You just have to focus on what you can do.
Right. Yeah, completely agree. Yeah.
So tell us about the food drive that you guys are doing right now in Charleston. How is it going? What's the experience been like? Were you were part of it last year too?
We did not end up doing it last year. And honestly, I think I mean, I don't have a good excuse other than we just got busy and didn't really notice it until it was too late. This year, I was very surprised. I really thought because there are three of us in Charleston and or four, I guess, with my paralegal. And we're pretty spread out. And so I just thought when I reached out, I just thought they would say, "Oh yeah, let's just give a few bucks." And they would just want to give money and be done with it. But they really wanted to get food and deliver to the food bank. And so we met for lunch. And the food bank's website said you have to put everything in a box. So I brought one box. It did not even come close. It's like I could have brought 4 boxes and it wouldn't have fit. They brought so much. It was
Oh, wow.
very cool. And yeah, we went down there and I mean, I should have known people who work at a food bank are going to be nice. Like they were all just very lovely and did not give us any grief for not having boxes to put everything in. But
What food
yeah,
bank was it you worked with?
Lowcountry.
Lowcountry. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull them up here on the screen. What did you when you went there and you met with them, what were your biggest takeaways?
Uh, there aren't enough people. Um, there's, I mean, this was, of course, right at the end of the government shutdown,
Mhm.
and it was pretty dire. And um, but I got the very distinct impression that there weren't a lot of random people coming in volunteering. It was they got a lot of food from companies, which is fantastic, but that we need more individuals. And I mean, honestly, I think that that's something that I expected to happen from the shutdown that didn't, and kind of disappointed me. I just thought that like individual people could have gotten together and helped where, SNAP benefits didn't. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Do you want to read a few of these statistics here on the right? This is pretty amazing what the food bank is doing from a service standpoint.
Yeah, 250 plus partners, 42.8 million pounds in distributed food in 2023, 34,000 plus volunteer hours, 200,000 plus people served, 96% of charitable dollars spent on programs and services. It's pretty cool. I do have a good friend. She's really a much better person than I am, and she volunteers there all the time, at least once a week, just putting stuff in boxes and that kind of thing.
And they serve 10 counties. It looks like 10 different counties,
Hmm.
coastal South Carolina. So do you think anyone from your office would maybe get involved in helping out to volunteer maybe at another point during the year after this experience?
I mean, yeah. I know that, we have one person who lives a good hour out, and I know my associate is a new mom. But yeah, I mean, I think that I was very surprised at how much they really wanted to help and how much they brought. So,
It's amazing.
yeah.
You know what's really cool is these organizations, these food banks around the country, they have these volunteer opportunities. You can see here volunteer orientation, volunteer shifts, different
Hmm.
locations have different times. And I don't think most people know about how many ways you can get involved. People think, oh, I'll donate some money or I'll do a food drive once a year, but there are so many ways to help out throughout the year. And I think it's really, really neat that part of our initiative with Chartwell Cares on this holiday food drive is communicating that the opportunity is there and it
Yeah.
can be seized and taken advantage of. And the more you give, the more you want to give. It's that old Scrooge, you know, tale as old as time story, right? It's like it burns in your heart and you want to do more and give more. And Bill Murray said it. It's like in the remake, he said, you just want to keep giving, and it's contagious, and you want to help other people. And before you know it, it's a chain of events that people in your life, you're sort of associate with people that are helping out more. Like you mentioned your friend, and you start seeing more ways to give back, and you start thinking about, well, people are suffering. Maybe I can do a little bit more. And
Yeah.
I think that's like the start of something really special.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, because there's a coffee shop my husband and I go to all the time, and they had a little QR code for some food organization. And immediately after that, I was like, oh, yeah, of course. And then today, because Chartwell really does care, they sent out an email of if you want to contribute to the hurricane relief efforts in Jamaica, we're going to match that. And so immediately I was like, oh yeah, I want, of course, I didn't even think about it. And I think it's just, yeah, it's just because this was in my head of like, of course, like there are people who are, it's going to matter a lot and it's not going to matter to me nearly as much. So,
Yeah, I think it's so special. Um, as you get ready to wrap up here, I would like to ask you a couple more questions. What would you tell someone that's thinking about going to law school, or maybe a young attorney who's not quite sure if they should do it, or maybe they've started and they're getting discouraged? What advice or encouragement would you give them?
hmm. Well, the good thing about law school, as frustrating as it is, well, there are a lot of good things, but you can do so much with a law degree. So, yeah, I mean, it's so expensive, but I mean, everything's so expensive. So I think there are a lot of people who have people I went to school with in undergrad who have the same degree that I do and aren't doing anything with it because it's hard to find those kind of jobs. But if you take the extra step and go to law school, you'll have so many options. I have one of my good friends is human resources for a huge hospital system, which I mean you don't need a law degree to do, but it I don't know that they would have given just some random person necessarily that job, but like it helped that she had all this background in employment law. So yeah. I think it's you have a lot of opportunities and you get to meet a lot of cool people too. So
Did becoming an attorney, the process of learning, did it change the way you think? How you would address situations, whether it's in your personal life, professional life? Do you feel like you have a more global outlook, being able to kind of weigh multiple sides, cause and effect when you're making decisions?
I mean, it's not a pretty answer, but I think the first thing I think that it changed was just completely believing that anybody is telling the truth no matter what, because that's not true, which isn't a nice thing. But I also think that it's taught me that everyone deserves a little bit of understanding, and everyone is doing the best they can with what they have, and maybe not always doing the best they can, but you've got to give people the benefit of the doubt and just you we're all kind of in this together. So
So, like more recognition of how nuanced life is.
right, right, absolutely. That's a good way to put it.
Because a lot of times you grow up, especially when you're younger, you see things very black and white. It's in this box or that box. It's in this circle or that circle.
Yes.
And then as time goes on, you realize that it's everything that you think you might not know. It's so different and more complex because there's so many. It's like the water, right? You hit a ripple and then it's like you can't account for everything that happens after that ripple starts.
Yeah. One of my favorite, it's on YouTube. I can't remember the guy's name, but it's a commencement speech. And he starts with there's a fishbowl, and it's just the water reminded me. And there are these two small fish swimming along, and this big fish comes by them and says, "Hey boys, how's the water?" And one of the little ones looks at the other one and says, "What the hell is water?" And it's just the idea that like we're just going through life not even knowing what's happening unless something comes in to wake us up. And yeah, I used to be very judgmental, very much. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps and um, you're responsible for what happens to you and that kind of thing. And um, the older I get, the more I realize that that's pretty stupid. It's just not a thing. Not everyone has bootstraps, first of all. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you're a very compassionate person and your life experiences have kind of maybe showed you I think seeing suffering is what does it, truthfully. Like you see other people in pain and then you start thinking, why are they suffering?
Hmm.
And you start trying to understand it. And I think, the understanding is that we might never really understand it. And then you're just left with one thing, and it's either to be not nice about it or to have compassion. And who wants to walk around having anger in their heart?
Right.
Compassion is much more brings much more peace, and it's much more fulfilling. And we all need grace and compassion because sometimes we make mistakes and screw up.
Yeah. Well, and it's so easy when we make mistakes to understand why we did that and justify it. And there might be a justification for it, but just assume that someone else doesn't have a justification is not fair.
Yeah.
So,
No, you have a really deep and intentional, thoughtful outlook, and I appreciate it. I mean, I really feel like if more people took time to be thoughtful about how they react or respond or assess situations, I think we'd be in a better spot. I think people would have more kindness and warmth to each other, and I think that's something a lot of times, unfortunately, is missing.
yeah, it's been a long process, but
Yeah. Well, you're
yeah.
there. Uh, my last question for you
Yeah.
is specifically around when your time is over, when you are done practicing law, when you're no longer here on this earth, what do you want your life, your legacy, what do you want it to have been?
Hmm. It's just terrible. No, nothing but terrible answers, but I don't really care. Like, I want to do good. I want um, good things to happen because I was here. I want people to be better off than they were before, but I don't really care that much if they know that it was me. You know what I mean? Like,
You don't
and I
care
don't like,
you don't care about recognition,
right, right. Like,
but
and
you
I
want
mean,
to
I
know
don't
that
have,
your life meant something for others.
right. And I don't, I mean, I'm not that great of a person. I'm not saying that, but I don't have kids. So I don't really think about like, I mean, this is terrible. I don't even have a will because it doesn't concern me about that kind of stuff doesn't concern me. Um, it does. I mean, I guess I should like if, it's just me and my husband, then maybe we should like at least give stuff to a charity or something. We should do that. But um, yeah, that's a terrible answer.
No, it's an honest answer, and I think it helps us to, reflect. I mean, I always think in terms of, you know, hopefully that my life, and I'm with you. I don't need recognition, but hopefully my life was used in a positive way to help others, and I think that's what you're ultimately saying. You just don't need to have any type of recognition for it.
Yeah. And I think I'm still struggling with forgiving my old self. I think I spent a long time judging other people, and I just want to do the opposite. I just want to have more compassion for other people, and whether that says anything about me or not, it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah. Well, and maybe it starts with giving yourself grace too,
mm,
because you are a good person, a great person actually. And I think
well, thank you.
the insights that you shared today, they demonstrate that, they reveal that. I mean, you've got a beautiful heart, and look at the work you guys are doing just now at the food bank. I mean, that's exciting. You helped them during a really bad time of need. You were there
Yeah.
for them. You guys answered the call, and now your message today will go on to impact more people and inspire more people to hopefully take action, not just for right now, but all year round, not just in Charleston, South Carolina, but all over the country. And that's, to me, that's the ripple effect that you're a big part of creating. So I appreciate you taking that time to share your story.
Well, thank you for you and your organization and all that you guys do. I mean, we wouldn't have done it without you.
Well, we're really proud of Chartwell. I say this with great joy in my heart. It's really cool to see it kind of come together. And the Chartwell Cares Initiative is truly beautiful. I don't know a lot of companies or organizations that make it such a priority to invest time, energy, and resources into the culture to that extent, where it is paramount. It's literally front and center under the About Us section on the website, the Chartwell Cares Initiative. And it's so inspiring, to me as an outsider. Now I'm starting to feel more like part of the Chartwell family because we've been working with you now for a couple of years. But I just love it. It's just intoxicating in a good way, just to see how much goodwill there is within your organization.
Love, love everyone here. They're so great. And yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name Chartwell is taken from the town where Winston Churchill was born
Yep.
because they didn't want it to be about individuals, which I just think is amazing. So that's just not something that lawyers do, like give up the right to have their name on the wall. But it's pretty cool.
I know. I saw that on the website and I had heard that story. I think it's really, really neat. I think Andrew had said it was Andrew, I think was the one that had did that, but it was I read it on the website. I thought that was pretty cool. Winston Churchill. And there's
Yeah,
like a picture of the house on the website.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, well, this has been great. I really appreciate it. For those that are listening, this is an exclusive series. This is part of the F4 Hunger Awareness podcast, but this is part of the Chartwell Cares initiative. This is part of the Chartwell Cares holiday food drive. And so, for those that are listening, please subscribe on whatever platform you're listening and share it with your friends, family, and the community. Our goal is to impact the lives of as many people as we can in a positive way with love and compassion. So thank you, Leslie, for being part of this effort and for all of your support of this mission.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Good. Have an awesome day, and we will see you all again soon.
Thank you.